Phyllis Schlafly, who campaigned very, very proactively against communism, against abortion, against the Equal Rights Amendment, has passed away at the age of 92. She founded the Eagle Forum, a very conservative organization, back in 1975. A few people emailed me saying, David, how come on Monday you didn't cover her passing? Well, on Monday, we were off for Labor Day. How come you didn't cover it on Tuesday? That was a fair question, but it was because we had segment producer and intern Noah Ferguson working on a little compilation of some of the highlights of Phyllis Schlafly's interviews with me, because I've interviewed her something like 4 or 5 times. Let's take a look at some of those moments now. Where did you get the idea that Latinos don't understand the Bill of Rights?
They don't understand that the purpose of our Constitution is to restrict government. We just simply have a unique system, and they better realize it. And that's why we have a great country, and that's why most of the rest of the world wants to come here. They simply have different systems of government and lifestyle. And I think that I certainly do believe that America is unique and better than any other country. I think the American people absolutely demand that we lock up the border, make it secure before we discuss anything else.
What do we do about those who are undocumented and in the country now? In a perfect world, if you were to decide, what do we do about those people, those millions of people?
Well, they don't get jobs.
Okay, so they can be here, but they can't work.
They can't get a legal job.
Ms. Schlafly, a pleasure as always to have you. I read your recent article about funding pre-K. You are against funding pre-K. Tell us a little bit about why.
Yes, well, as the famous ad used to say, where's the beef?
If you actually look at the net financial effect of pre-K, there are significant cost savings to the federal, state, and local governments that are involved to having universal pre-K. Special education services, for example, which are very expensive, the need for those is reduced drastically when you have access to universal pre-K.
Well, I would have to examine those so-called proofs.
For every dollar that is invested in pre-K, the total lifetime stimulus, so to speak, of that dollar invested in pre-K is somewhere between $3.78 and as much as $10, depending on the study you look at. This is a very fiscally conservative investment in the future of the country.
Well, I think those so-called facts have to be carefully evaluated.
That's what the studies do. They evaluate these statements.
Well,
Do you equate Americans to Christians?
No, but I think there are two thoughts of Obama. I think he does not want to think that America is superior in any way, and that translates into our whole effort to maintain military superiority, which I believe we should have. Not just be strong, but be superior, because that way our friends will rely on us and our enemies will respect us.
Okay, so now we're really getting into the meat of this. Do you believe that Christians are better than everybody else?
Well, yes, I do.
You do. The majority of domestic American terrorism has had nothing to do with Muslims. That's just data from the FBI. I don't know if you would dispute that data.
Well, there certainly Christians believe in original sin, and there are a lot of people who do commit crimes. No question about that. And we have laws against these crimes, and in most cases they are punished. And I honestly, I don't think that's relevant.
See, I'm finding a double standard in terms of what you include as relevant and what you exclude. And I'll kind of just sum it up. And then, of course, as I always do, I'll give you a chance to comment.
Well, I do think it's fine for Americans to be patriotic and think our country is best.
So I'm getting the sense that you've just made up your mind regardless of the facts.
Yes, I call that patriotism.
Oh, so patriotism is having a position that is not influenced by facts, you're saying?
No, that's not true. I think it's very influenced by fact. that America is the best, the fairest, the most successful society in our country today. And I'm proud of it, and I think Obama should respect it and not try to compare us.
All right. And you won't be influenced by FBI data or anything else. That's your position, and that's what you strongly feel.
I certainly won't be influenced by FBI data to think that the Americans are just as bad as the Muslims. That's correct.
There was always something sort of endearing about my interactions with Phyllis Schlafly. I remember moments where I would basically say to her, it sounds like actually the sort of truth is the opposite of what you're saying. The facts at least seem to show that. And she would sometimes say, yeah, that may actually be. Now, it didn't change her opinion in any way. She was sticking with her opinion no matter what the facts were. But she actually sometimes recognized that I was making a pretty good case against whatever argument it was that she was making. And here's my sort of final thought on the legacy of Phyllis Schlafly. In spite of her policies being very anti-feminist, she was the leader of a political organization that she created and ran since 1975. The mere existence of the Eagle Forum and Phyllis Schlafly's role there is in a way directly counter to her anti-feminist beliefs. And Rachel, you mentioned this earlier in the show with regard to Gretchen Carlson, where now she became the victim of just the rampant boys club sexual harassment at Fox News, and she received a $20 million settlement for it, etc. Although at least as far as the character she played on the air was the exact opposite of that. And I kind of feel like Phyllis Schlafly, because she created this organization in 1975 at a time when most of this type of activism really was being done by men, her legacy may actually be the opposite with regard to feminism of what she even lobbied for.
Yeah, it's interesting how she can kind of have this almost counterintuitive dichotomy of kind of what she was kind of putting forth in terms of her morals and her values and what she was trying to get accomplished, which was kind of in almost opposition to how she was actually acting by getting them accomplished.
No doubt about it. And I will remember her fondly, not for her politics, but because she actually was a nice person to speak to on the show.